Hi everybody. So for this video, I wanted to do something a little different. Um, and I wanted to kind of start a series where I discuss like true crime and the psychology behind the crime. So what are people being diagnosed with that are serial killers or serial rapists or, people like that, criminals? What's the psychology behind it? What are they being diagnosed with that ultimately is what causes them to do these horrific crimes? So, stuff like narcissism, borderline personality, schizophrenia, sociopathy, uh, being a psychopath, stuff like that. So for this first video, I'm actually going to start with narcissism, and kind of explain a little bit of the background of kind of the definition, the medical definition of narcissism, and really kind of get a better explanation of what narcissism really is and how people with narcissism view themselves and dip into kind of how they view the world. So, narcissism, psychologically speaking, they're characterized as being very, very selfish. They have an inflated sense of entitlement, a major lack of empathy, so they don't really have an understanding of how other people around them feel. And people with narcissism have a need for validation, for admiration. They want people to admire them. So you might see them really striving to be like captain of their sports team or top person in their club. They want to be the best, and they don't care who they have to, in a matter of speaking, crush under their thumb to get there, because they lack that empathy of, okay, this person is trying to be the best as well. It's healthy competition. They don't see it like that. And according to the Mayo Clinic, which is where I got a lot of my information from, it's a personality disorder, as with a few other things that I'm going to talk about in this series. Um, and it's also a mental condition where people have an overinflated sense of their importance. And that, like I said, they have that really deep need for excessive attention, excessive admiration, and that lack of empathy. They tend to have troubled relationships. So that can be relationships with family members. That can be relationships with friends if they have friends. They may distance themselves. It does happen. And if they have romantic relationships, those will be notoriously rocky. They will be they can be very violent. They can be aggressive in those sort of relationships. And a lot of this is kind of hiding a very fragile self-esteem, a very vulnerable person, but a lot of it outwardly is, I need to be the best and I don't care what I do to you to make sure that I'm the best. So the signs and the symptoms of narcissism are really going to vary between person to person, and severity is of course going to vary as well, because as with many other psychological disorders, there's kind of a spectrum of it, with different signs, symptoms, severities, all of that. And as I said before, some of these are going to kind of be repeats as I mention various signs and symptoms. So they have an exaggerated view of their self-importance. they have a they have a sense of entitlement and and they require constant attention and admiration. They expect to be recognized for stuff as the best of something, even though in many cases, they did nothing to earn that recognition. They're not superior to so and so, even though they claim that they are. They tend to exaggerate stuff that they've done, even if a friend of theirs was with them and says, no, that's not right, they'll still exaggerate it. And they tend to be preoccupied with fantasies of, success, power, wealth, finding the perfect relationship, even though a lot of their relationships are very rocky. They tend to believe that they're superior, and ultimately they really want to only be associated with the people that are at the same level that they feel that they're at. And they'll monopolize conversations, so make it all about them and belittle the people around them, and the people that they perceive as inferior. And for the people that they feel inferior, if that person really wants to kind of mesh with people, they'll ask for special favors, but won't pay that person back at all. They tend to take advantage of people. Same sort of thing with the special favors. And they tend to behave in a very haughty manner, which kind of ties into they feel that they're superior than the people around them when they've done nothing to earn that level of superiority or that feeling of superiority. And they really insist on having the best of everything. Everything has to be their way. It has to be perfect, no matter what. And kind of at the same time, when you're seeing a lot of these signs and symptoms, and yes, that is my adorable cat just kind of peeking in. When they want that preferential treatment, if they don't get it, they become very, very impatient, very angry when somebody's like, no, I'm not going to give you that because you've done nothing to earn it. And they have, as I said before, they have a lot of difficulty with interpersonal relationships and interpersonal problems. And they really have a difficulty regulating their emotions. So it's not uncommon for people to go from what somebody that's normal might perceive as being just regular, normal, happy-go-lucky sort of person to all of a sudden they're very, very angry. They're in a rage and nothing obvious provoked it. And some of that is because they have difficulties dealing with stress and adapting to change. And sometimes they feel depressed or very moody. And like I said, with the regulating their emotions, it may be because they're not feeling perfect, or they are falling short of the perfection that they want. And it's very difficult for a lot of people to deal with a narcissist. And a couple examples of people that are in say a romantic relationship with somebody that's a narcissist. The narcissist will gaslight They will become very moody. It's not uncommon for domestic violence to happen between partners in a romantic relationship where one of them or both of them is a narcissist, especially if they're going without therapy or going without help, kind of regulating that and understanding and having an understanding of what's actually going on kind of inside their head. So, a few famous people that were actually narcissists. Now, these are all um, killers, serial killers, people that were in the news for crimes that they committed. So, BTK, um, Jeffrey Dahmer, Edmund Kemper, Jim Jones. He was the Jonestown Massacre guy. Ted Bundy, Jodi Arias, who is a much more recent public case of narcissism. All of them were people that felt very entitled. I'll use the example of Jodi Arias because she was a much more recent case, and I was actually alive when she was out and about doing all of the stuff that she was doing. With her and Travis Alexander, they dated for a while. Travis's friends noticed that she was very, very possessive over him. She needed to know what was going on with him all the time. Who was he talking to? What were they talking about? And pretty much when they broke up, if she couldn't have him, nobody could. He tried dating other people, and she would creep outside his house. She would break into his house. She would go after the people that he was dating and harass them. And she would appear very, very moody, lots of mood swings, and just, it would be kind of depression, rage, or just kind of batshit crazy, so to speak. She really had that trouble of regulating her emotions, and it had to be all about her. She had to be the one that was involved with Travis. She had to be the one that took control of the situation. And like I said, if she couldn't have Travis, nobody was going to have him, which is what led to her killing him. But that's just kind of an example, like I said, a more recent example of what somebody that's a narcissist can and will do if they're not being treated by a psychiatrist, therapist, psychologist, somebody in the medical profession that's trained to help those people understand what's going on. So if anybody has any comments about something that they'd like me to talk about, whether it be a mental disorder, somebody like a true crime sort of thing about maybe a mystery, crime mystery, or disappearances, or maybe a serial killer, let me know. Put it down in the comments. I will gladly look into as many topics as you guys would like, and let's keep this going. I really enjoy these.